Okay, so the theme music is playing now. And I'm going to look straight at the camera. Welcome back to iHearIC Radio. This is, I believe, the second episode I've done in the year 2022. Possibly the first.
Oh, wow.
I know I've done one episode since the last time you were on, since our last anniversary episode.
Wow. That is pretty crazy.
Yeah, so this is the 5th anniversary episode of iHearIC Radio. And as is tradition, my friend Duroje Gwamna is here.
Hey, yo.
Yeah, we used to do this back at the radio station, but those days are gone.
Are they like gone?
Well, the radio station's there, but I'm not.
Ah, fair enough.
So I guess those days, I'm gone from those days.
But no, we can say that they're gone, you know, because I find this way homier, you know,
Yeah.
literally.
We're literally in my home.
We're
So
literally in the home.
It is homier. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, the show doesn't happen super often anymore because the pandemic really just derailed what I had going. And so, but I don't want to break the streak of, you know, once a year, you and I do this.
I love it.
We recap let's go over what we talked about the previous 4 times.
Previously on.
Yeah. Previously on the iHearIC Radio anniversary episodes featuring Duroje Gwamna. Well, the only thing I really remember from last time is you were about to celebrate the birth of your first child.
That's right. And he is, 10 and a half months old now? He's, crawling now. He's kind of mastered army crawling, right? So, like, he's getting into stuff he's not supposed to be getting into,
Yeah.
you know, like acting like a war vet when he wants your ice cream or whatever. He's like, you know, hobbling over. I'm like, all right. So you feed him the ice cream, you know. And
Do you put up like barbed wire obstacles for him?
That's right. It's like back in my time in the womb, you know. Yeah, he's living it out. We do, of course, we have baby gate, so he doesn't go tumbling down the stairs. You got to do that.
That's, I think, the most important part of a baby that can move is that he not fall down the stairs.
No, for real.
Yeah.
Like, par for the course, right? But, like, you don't think about that until you kind of just experience it, I guess. I think that's the thing with...
So he fell down the stairs?
He fell out the bed. Oh, yeah. He fell out the bed. This is not... Okay, this was my fault. But, like, this is, like, right before we were getting ready for the state fair that we probably shouldn't have gone to because COVID or whatever. But, like, he fell out.
It's mostly outdoors. So.
Right? Exactly. Yeah. But, like... And also the food consumption, you know, you're going to gain so much weight from that despite the walking. But like, while my wife was getting things packed up for the suitcase, we placed Tune on the bed and, you know, he was just like rolling, you know, just gathering enough inertia so that if you went the wrong way, something was going to happen. And that's kind of what happened. I was helping Sarah pack. I hear a thud. I'm like, oh my God. I just had that feeling where like you made like, this sounds terrible, but like if you're making like dinner or something elaborate and it falls on the floor, you're like, oh shit. Like,
yeah, it's a little more important.
It's a lot more important because it's a, you know, it's a baby, you know, not something to eat.
A young, vulnerable human life.
And you're like, and Sarah, she makes it, she's like, oh, and like, she just, in that, man, that scared the crap out of me. Luckily, nothing, you know, he was, I think face up. I think that's a good face where he didn't fall on his face. But either way, you know, he was fine. The baby's
no
fine.
Damage.
No
yeah.
damage. Yeah. He cried mostly because my wife, she of course rightfully reacted the right way, but that was not a moment I would want to do over again. But I wanted to make sure that he still had his wits about him, you know, make sure that, you know, I nibble on his tummy and make sure he reacts and stuff. And he eventually got there. I think he was just a little shell shocked.
Yeah. You do the thing where you like put your finger in front of his eyes and see if he follows it.
It's like how many fingers?
Yeah. And you do 2 fingers and see if the eyes go in opposite directions.
You know, actually,
which I think is not supposed to happen.
Right. Actually, I think I did try to do the trace thing. Yeah. Which I think he just wanted to take a nap because he just had a long day. He didn't want to do any. He didn't want to do any.
He didn't want to
tracing.
do this like physical sobriety test kind of
right.
thing.
He's like, I just fell off, and you want to do this thing like you pull people over? Like, just give me a break, Dad. Like you messed up here.
Yeah. How long? So that was like State Fair. So that was like a few months ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's cool.
He's cool as far as like he's the only thing now that's not so he's got front teeth and little bottom chompers there. He's looking more like a human. It's you know, without the teeth, he just looks like what a baby would look like, you know. Now that he's got like features that adults can identify with. It's like, oh my God, like he's changing in front of us, like,
yeah,
it's crazy, just seeing all that happen. But now it's like, so he has this thing where it's kind of gross, but like he's got like this thing called like it's cradle cap, where it's like this kind of these scabs on his head. It's gnarly because like, it could happen with as he's growing his hair out or whatever, and like we need to bathe him more. We should be bathing him like 2-3 times a week, but usually it's once a week if we're lucky or whatever. We get so tired with everything. But I shouldn't be telling that. They're probably watching this. Like, there'll be knocks on the door
from dip him in a bucket of water.
Oh, exactly right. Head first, right? He fell off the bed. What else? What's dipping him in some water? But it just is weird because like it just feels like this kind of like this scabby kind of like seeing like it's kind of gross, but. We're going to put some of that on his head and hopefully that'll, wash away. But it's just like it's not just that too, but it's, as the baby gets older or whatever, it's just like you experience stuff like, oh God, like when we first fed him solids, I honestly thought we were going to kill this baby. Like we gave him like part of a banana and he looked like he was about to like choke on it, which he was, which is like a few months ago. But like, turns out like it's par for the course, when you're, as you're kind of going about, navigating these things together and learning how to eat. Yeah. And like the things, I guess, as a parent kind of going into it that I wouldn't have even thought about. Right. I mean, I should have read the book that Sarah read.
I think that's the callback to last time you were on the show. You were talking about these books you weren't reading.
Yes. Oh my God. And I still haven't read them.
Now you have the kids. So,
now, exactly.
Yeah.
Now, exactly. Now I got the test that, I'm just actively filling up these answers, The test prep, I said the hell with that. I don't need no test
you
prep.
Showed up for class and here it is.
Here it is. It almost harkens back to my days when I was in college where like I never made my 8 o'clock theory class. Are you kidding me?
And 2 days like your 18-year test now. You're like in the room for 18 years and like I don't think you get graded at
I don't think so. Yeah. At that point it's like practicum. You know what I mean? It's just kind of what you see is what you get.
It's a pass fail.
It is very, very much pass fail. No, dude, but it does bring me back to like my code days where like, looking back especially with the more having a kid and stuff like that and my career as like a 34-year-old man, I'm looking back at the times when in my younger 20s, I'm like, damn, I would have done half of this stuff differently, right? When it came to, not to say that, college is for everybody or whatever, but like during my time at Co, I'm like, man, what the hell was I thinking? You know what I mean? Like, as far as that extrapolating into, as I get older and whatnot and things I kind of had to learn the hard way, and with raising Tunde and stuff, it's like, it's not that one should expect perfection, right? But at least try, and if you at least try, your kid won't, die or whatever, just be there.
That would be the worst thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be the worst thing. Yeah.
That's definitely a fail on the pass
on the pass fail, right? And so many fails down the road, there's a divorce,
smaller fails.
Exactly.
Death is the biggest fail.
It is.
An epic fail even.
An epic fail. Make that be the next one of your next iHearIC titles. Death is the biggest fail. Just like
yeah, and it sort of puts things into perspective. Like maybe maybe a performance doesn't go so well. Maybe you aren't into the music you hear, but hey, no one died.
No one died,
right?
Exactly.
You can excuse anything as long as no one's dead.
Now, I think Carson was telling us about music history, a music history 3, where we explored like all the cool music, 20th century. Mm-hmm. Nothing against anything prior to that, but 20th century was amazing in my opinion compared to anything else.
Yeah.
But there's a piece. Well, the whole Dadaist movement. They're talking about how with 4 minutes and 33 seconds and things like that. But I've heard of a piece where it was theoretical or else. So there's a piece where somebody would turn a cannon to the audience and they would light it.
Yeah.
Wasn't that a piece that was written kind of theoretically? Yeah. Obviously it would not be done, but I think based on the whole Dadaist principle is that it can be done.
Yeah, that was called danger music, if I remember right.
Danger music.
I don't remember the names of anyone involved in that really, but yeah, that was kind of a mini subculture movement thing, I think.
Yeah.
Just writing pieces where you kill the audience.
I wonder if you can kind of like, in a mathematical sense, like as you approach infinity, if you could kind of flirt with the idea of danger music, actually get the cannon, get the powder, get the payload, but you don't like the match.
Yeah,
just like
you can get
kind of like it's called potential danger music or whatever.
Flirting with disaster.
Yes.
Oh wait, that's a Molly Hatchet song?
Yes, it is.
That's what that song's about.
Oh, it's actually about danger.
Yeah, it's about theoretical compositions.
The music video
Southern
was
rock band Molly Hatchet.
The music video was them getting these supplies from like a munitions store or whatever on the way to class.
Yeah. People don't know, but all of the members of Molly Hatchet were actually studying contemporary composition at a conservatory.
Look it up, folks. Actually, I was going to say this for later on in this, but I really wanted to. I really should have saved this for later, but I'm going to tell you. Speaking about weird compositional methods, so one thing that me and Tunde have been doing, my son, I've actually taken him. I put him on my lap, which all parents should do, but I put him to my piano. Yeah, and I actually just, how you place a kid in front of stuff and see what they do. Mm-hmm. He's actually been gravitating towards just playing stuff, and one thing I thought would be pretty cool is writing a piece kind of based off of like whatever Tunde played or whatever my son played. And I call it Baby Grand.
Yeah, cool.
So basically like what would happen. And I need to find a way to write this down. Maybe I might employ your help as far as like the directions on like on how to get everything settled,
how to make this make sense.
So so what I was thinking is that like you would, for most of the piece, you would depress the sostenido, I think what's the third one?
Sustained.
Thank you. Yeah. So you hold that sustain pedal, you place a child there, and then like you would just have them play some stuff in the middle C area, whatever he plays. He
establishes a motive.
Exactly. And like what I was thinking, so we'll start there, and then the next, basically would just be like a series of these movements. I would just kind of move him to like different parts of the piano, like the lower part, like the lower register, medium, high register. I might play some stuff to mimic what he's playing as long as he doesn't get upset by it. and then there'll be another movement where like I will depress the sustain pedal, and he'll just like play something. I'll take the baby away, and I just thought about it like when I think I was drinking or something like that. I'm like, better take my son and
drinking with Tunde.
Drinking with Tunde. Don't do that either. I'm telling you, man, I'm not built for this. But I would say, what do you think of that as a way to like, how if you go to West Music, whatever, you got kids playing, hot cross buns or some BS on the piano or whatever, mm-hmm. but like as a way to not as a joke piece, but like as a way to make it somewhat theoretical, but somewhat actionable. Yeah. If you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Obviously, the opportunity to play the piece, the window of opportunity is
right.
As long
I was
as
going to say we've got a time limit.
You get a time limit, right? You can play this piece as long as this kiddo is, within this age range.
Before he gets too conscious of what he's doing. Yeah.
Exactly. It's like, what the hell am I doing on this dude's lap? Where like
he knows that you're his dad, right?
Yeah, right. Okay, exactly. Right. Like pick some random child. Yeah. So there should be some there should be some caveats, right? I think that should be. Whenever you're writing a piece or whatever, when like with percussion and stuff, you'll have like a percussion map or whatever, or like instructions on how to get everything prepared. Mm-hmm. So I wonder if you kind of have to like, have something, semi-joking, but kind of serious. Like, hey, make sure this kid is your child or whatever is, you can put him on his lap and he doesn't, make sure that he's fed. You know what I mean? Make sure that he just had his nap.
You have a list of prerequisites where the baby is being treated properly. Yeah.
Right. Like the ideal baby for this piece is as follows. Yeah. All right. As long as you got your checklist.
Basic needs covered.
If he has to take a shit during the middle of the performance or whatever, then that's the end of the piece, obviously. So make sure that everything's kind of squared away, ideally, to be able to play the piece fully. Mm-hmm. But it was just something that just came to mind. I'm like, I wonder if I could, maybe see if I could do something. Because that's not like, for me, it's like whenever I write music, I feel like, or at least whenever I've gotten a chance to write something, I feel like I always have something somewhat formulaic in my head. Like, I feel like I don't really get an opportunity to like let chaos or just.
Sure, yeah.
You know what I mean? Just like accepting something that may not, for instance, like playing like a pedal B flat on my trombone for like 3 minutes. Never, no, I can't do it. You know what I mean? Like, but just the idea that somebody could, you know, and just like maybe fine tuning that weird idea to something actionable. But I'm always like, I feel like honestly, I'm trying not to play it safe as much as I used to play it safe.
Yeah.
I think that's something that, especially with getting into playing, especially trying to playing into like concert bands and trying to write for concert bands, it's definitely a matter of trying to keep everything in this tight box for, you know, for kids that can be able to play the music, which is another constraint too. And something that, you know what I mean? Like any more band directors, they want to hear stuff that, you know, gets kids' parents in the seats and, you know, blah, 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 you know, and less so when you get into college and whatnot, where you can expand, I feel like expand in those kind of ways. Mm-hmm. But yeah, like I like writing stuff for bigger ensembles, I guess. But like it is, especially for concert band, being it more viable, it seems, compared to like finding an orchestra or whatever, unless you had like a budget and had all the connections in the world to get yourself out there and have an orchestra play. But a band, it seems like it's pretty expedient. Yeah. You know, it's right there. You know, it's easy.
Well, you've got connections to people who conduct a band.
Right. Like, yeah, exactly. Thank you, Dr. Carson. But, you know, so there's that. But it's like, I feel like that might make it more accessible for folks trying to get into it. But at the same time, it's like I'm quickly realizing, and this can be this can be a conversation that can extrapolate almost, you know, as long as we're talking for like the whole time. But like it's something I need to try and remember to not to limit myself, you know, really think outside the box.
Yeah.
But
this idea you have with Tune Day is like, it's very much like using the resources at your disposal.
That is
right?
true.
Like you're not worrying about like how to find people to play this music. You're writing it for a kid who lives with you, not on you. And
right.
relies on you for survival. So this is like you have so much access to this performer.
Exactly right. As long as he's here, right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's kind of what I realized too. Like, as you know, the 10, 12 times I've done it, he's really, you know, just banging away. You know, he'd do it for a while.
Yeah, he's getting into the connection between his action and the sound.
Exactly. Yeah. And I'm like, man, there's something that could probably be done with this. But
yeah,
it's another piece of it is like trying to make it look, you know, somewhat realistic.
Make it like a reproducible.
Reproducible, exactly.
Yeah, turning it into something that someone else could also do.
Theoretically.
Yeah.
Exactly. And
what I like about it a lot is like the you're taking like the naivety or whatever.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Like not only an untrained musician, but an untrained person. Like
he's not even fully cooked.
Right. He's not even. Yeah, he can't do much.
No.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And you're using like that. Like that totally unformed new brain and seeing like what ideas comes out of this.
Exactly.
What does he think he wants to do? He's making his own decisions, which are very much uninformed. And it's like, what comes out? He hasn't been like conditioned by years and years of musical training and hearing music and all this. He's heard a lot of music.
He's heard it, but yes.
But like, yeah, he's very untrained. So you've got a time limit where like, what can he produce before he knows too much?
That's a very good way to. Yeah, that's actually a great I feel like that's a great epilogue. I think with it, you know, with a good reminder, you know, when I think with this potential kind of thing. Honestly, I like that.
Yeah,
because there is like it's kind of like a nice it's a finite thing where you have this window to work with, you know, and it's kind of nice whenever he does kind of do that stuff for real. I'm curious kind of like if he likes the timbres that he's hearing, you know, sometimes we have one of those digital.
He can't even communicate the feedback.
No, he can't. Sometimes.
Well, he can cry if he doesn't like it.
If he doesn't, right? Which he's done because it's for different reasons. But yeah, he'll like, sometimes he'll just be like, oh, you know, and then.
Well, I guess, you know, he makes happy noises. Yeah. He can communicate a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's like, you know, it's funny because, when you hear him, like, especially just kind of rattling on the piano, it's like, you can kind of almost get glimpses of that wonder, you know, when he's kind of, you know, trying to play around with this whole thing. And especially now that like he's done it before, maybe, you know, you can probably see even more glimpses, you know, he at least knows the black and white keys. You can whack on them or whatever. He hasn't tried to mess with the presets or hasn't changed it to
the mod wheel.
Yeah. I would die.
Yeah.
He's like,
once he figures that out,
yeah, we're screwed. Once we're gonna have a complete synth head on our hands.
Yeah. No, we should like try to record something with him.
Wouldn't that?
Yeah.
Oh, that would be so cool.
I feel like every time we do this, like we like come up with an idea that we don't follow.
We don't follow up, but we should come.
This is very much like actionable, and again, we've got a time limit, so we should actually work on this.
We should work on. Actually, I would love to. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that'd be fun.
Yeah, I was thinking like on a serious note though, like I could. I'm gonna record the next time I do. I'm just gonna record what he does, and I'm just gonna send it to you.
Yeah,
and then just so we can kind of think of ideas, and I might annotate like when I send it to you, like, hey, I moved him, 1.5 minutes, and I moved him here. I mean, you'll probably hear it too, as far as like what I've done while I was playing and you see my piano too, so like, it's low frills, but yeah, you can like at least throw a pedal in there and stuff like that.
Yeah,
that'd be awesome.
Yeah, that would be cool. And yeah, it's a way that I've thought about music before. I don't remember when I started, like when this idea was presented to me, but like classical notation is all about sort of like, it's sort of about like the result. You're seeing the result. So like there's an F chord on the page, and that's what you're hearing is an F chord.
Yeah.
Another way to think about notation is like the physical actions that a performer takes. So like you can just write down place baby in this range.
Oh yeah.
Because you're not so much dictating the results. You're dictating the input rather than the output.
That's right. You can't. We're not going to control what the output is of that baby or anybody.
Right.
If you tell them, "Hey, play whatever," that's true. Or like even like obviously, like say if you place child like in the middle, like anybody's child, like in the middle like of the piano, as depending on like you could probably I wonder if one could probably make like a block. You know what I mean? Like kind of like a pitch block, I guess.
Yeah.
Like say if you did it on the low range, you'll probably do like a 8 VB or 15 VB or something. But yeah, you're right. Like I think just a simple direction, and then letting the baby determine what that means.
Yeah.
And then just basically following the directions and kind of going about it that way, I think is the way to do it.
Yeah. See what the baby does.
Yeah. See what the baby does. That might be a better name for the piece rather than Baby Grand. See what the baby does. That's great.
Yeah. Well, do you want to listen to some music?
Yeah, I was gonna say.
You've got 3 tracks. I got some stuff. What should we do first?
I wanted to see what you came up with.
Okay, let's do one of mine first.
I talk too much, so go.
No, that's all right. So I wanted to start with my friends from that I've known since like high school and some even earlier. We released a double album in September called Industrial Devolution 1 and 2. We recorded this stuff back in 2017 and 18. These are my friends Chris Emery, David Clare, Roland Hart, and Alex Taylor, who have all been on iHearIC radio back when I was doing it every single week. We finally released this stuff. Our friend Ben Woods did the album art. I wanted to play a track from that, but I didn't pick one. So let's narrow it down a little bit.
All right.
Pick 1 or 2.
2.
Okay. And now let's say like even or odd.
Odd.
Okay, so
perfect.
odd. Do you want to hear Vocontra the Vanquisher, The Tribes of Tularemia, Waning Extraterrestrial Influence, or Pickle Dew Midnight?
Waning Extraterrestrial Influence.
Okay, Waning Extraterrestrial Influence.
Nice.
These are all a mouthful. This is from Industrial Devolution 2 by Emery, Claire, Comer, Hart, Taylor. This came out last month. It's up on Bandcamp if anyone who happens to be listening to this wants to hear the rest of these albums. But it's about 6 minutes long, so let's give it a shot.
Nice.
So that was Waning Extraterrestrial Influence by Emery Claire Comer Hart Taylor. Recorded in my garage, just down there. Yeah.
I really like that instrumentation.
Yeah, I've got it all written down, like everything that everyone played, but I didn't have that pulled up on my phone. But I know that this was in there. This omnichord, which
really,
if you were watching the video of this episode, you're seeing me hold an omnichord up to the camera right now. And I didn't mention that before, but if you want to watch the video, it's on the iHearIC Patreon, if you have any interest in that. And yeah, I wanted to say at the beginning of the episode, actually, and I forgot. So even though we haven't been doing regular episodes of iHearIC Radio, I do upload stuff to the iHearIC Patreon. I wouldn't say regularly, but, more frequently than the once a year
that you do this, yeah.
that we've been doing this. So
right on.
I do have a lot of like solo improvised stuff up there if you have any interest in that. And also some Wombat live recordings are up there. Awesome. There's a bunch of stuff. And eventually the money will be going to the return of the iHearIC series as a more regular thing. Rather than just occasional bookings. I would like to get back to it, but I don't have the energy or the interest right now from the community.
Hey, I was going to ask you too. I saw your what the heck's that badge? Your
this?
Yes, yeah.
I have it sitting here.
You better flash that, man.
So if you are watching the video, you actually you can see me holding a button up to the camera now, which says Local 690 IATSE, Iowa City, Iowa.
Yes. Well, I was going to say, cheers to that, man.
Yeah, I can't be like totally explicit about everything that's going on with that right now, but
for sure.
The IATSE is the International Association of Theatrical Stagehand Employees. It's something like that.
Got it.
Yeah.
No, yeah, that's what's up, man.
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's hopefully going well, but I don't want to I don't want to speak out of turn because there are other people involved in that.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, that's smart. No, that's what's up. No, yeah. I was gonna say with the, let's see if I can replicate the title. So, Waning Extraterrestrial Influence.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. The title is, what I like about this is that the title is provocative enough to kind of get you to put you in that kind of mindset of like kind of like what to listen to. And I was going to say,
I'm so glad you said that because that's like like that whole project. That's where all the titles come from. It's like we have an idea of what we're evoking, but it came after the fact. So we're not being like, we don't want to tell you exactly what's happening, but we want to suggest a little something.
You're kind of inferring after listening to that's kind of how I honestly kind of quickly going, like whenever I'm writing stuff, it's like I've made the mistake of prematurely titling my piece and it completely deviates to, compared to where I really initially thought it was going to go because I kind of influenced it based on the title. And I know that unless say like you and I were working on, if we each had a commission, right, for somebody, like a band director or what have you, a group or whatever, and they kind of informed you as far as what the piece is going to signify, what they want.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like half right there. And then the title may come then or may come much later during the composition or whatever. But yeah, like I've learned the hard way. Like if I try to write, there's some of the stuff that I've sent to you even, I've renamed multiple times.
Sure.
Because like in my thought process when I had written it, I'm like, oh, it's going to be called this. And then when I've listened to it so many times, I'm like, no, it completely lost its meaning, that name. So it's going to be this now. It's crazy. Yeah. But yeah, what I liked about yours is that from the get-go, I feel like it kind of put me into space where, you're just, whether it's aliens or the extraterrestrial could be something completely completely intangible and completely, personal at the same time. And I was listening to it, and I'm like, it felt like I just beat a video game. I know it's going to come back to me.
It is near the end of the second of the two albums, so it is sort of like nearing the conclusion. Yeah.
Well, you know what I mean? Where like I think about Metroid, for instance. Metroid, like I haven't played Metroid yet, but I just,
really?
I need to.
It's
though.
awesome. Yeah.
Yes. We'll plug in there for Nintendo and the folks that
they need our advertisements. Yeah,
they clearly
all the people listening to this. Yeah.
Well, like, don't you?
If you haven't heard of Nintendo,
like, boy, are you in for a treat? But no, don't you? I just get this like you're kind of. I don't know, because like it could be whether it's good or bad, but you're kind of. It could also be placed in the beginning where the protagonist is entering something completely foreign, and they're. It just puts you. I feel like it does it just sets you up for this vast. There are a lot of games I've played and I've seen or whatever, like on Nintendo Switch, where there's a big return to pixel art, and like a lot of these games too, like the sounds are big. They have this they kind of have a lot of them, especially a lot of like these RPGs and stuff like that. They kind of evoke that whole like esoteric, really open, spacey kind of vibe or whatever. But when I was listening to this, it's like a fresh take of that. It's not derivative at all. What I like about it though is that, the chords, the minor, like it worked so well.
It's all minor.
Yeah. And like it also just kind of gives you this sense of like, kind of gives you a sense of resolve too, however you want, especially how parts of like the what's it called? The texture, just like how the texture just kept changing the whole
right. That's kind of the whole
time.
Thing. Yeah. I mean, if it's not clear, we improvise that.
Oh,
yeah.
No. Right. But right.
It's sort of like the whole thing is like Chris came up with, I'm pretty sure it was Chris who started the minor chord progression. And then we just like hammered that for several minutes.
And it makes sense.
It's just sort of a layering thing. Like things come into that chord progression and fade out, and then a new thing comes in. Yeah. And the whole time there's that like bass drum, boom, like really reverby in the distance kind of.
And I love that.
Just forever.
And it made sense though too, I think, just because that was like besides of course the harmony, that bass drum was set as that constant that's almost kind of needed. Like it's the vehicle for all those changing textures. I really like the idea behind it. I feel like it could be. You could throw that at the end of like a video, like honestly, like you put that in some sort of like video game project, which is another project I want to talk to you about too down the road. I have so many projects.
If any game developers are listening, reach out. You can use that track if you like.
No, for real. Like I think honestly that would work so well. Just throw that at like the credits or even parts at the beginning too. Like start your game and here's like the epilogue, the prologue or whatever. Yeah, man, I really liked it.
Thanks, man. And when it comes to the narrative behind those two albums, listeners, if you want to go back to the summer of 2019, David, Claire, and I recorded a series of production meetings about those albums where you can hear all of our like rationale for like why we named everything what we did.
Wow.
Yeah,
I would.
It's all on record.
Is it on the Patreon as well?
No, it's just on the free feed.
On the free feed?
Yeah. So if you want to spend like 6 hours listening to me and David talk about this album that took us forever to actually finish.
Well, I really need to listen.
It's all out there.
I really need to listen to all that though, like especially just when I'm like working out or just need the moment from Tunde, and I'm kidding. I love myself.
Yeah, well, I've heard when you have a kid, like you need to fill a lot of hours with something to keep you occupied.
Yes, you do. So that might be it. Heck yeah, man.
Yeah, that's what podcasts are for. Is like hours of nighttime child rearing or like boring office jobs. That's what this medium thrives on.
Yeah. I was going to ask too. Are you still doing Rock the Caucus?
Rock Hard Caucus.
Rock Hard Caucus.
Yeah. That's still going pretty regularly. Yeah.
I'm sure that there's going to be. I'm sure there's always there's never a dearth of material there. I'm sure there's always.
Oh yeah, I mean we don't have the time to like record enough to like really keep up with news.
Everything.
It's just like we got to pick and choose. What can we be at least somewhat entertaining talking about?
For real. I mean, there's so much where there's these one hitters that you can go off of and move on to the next thing. But with some of the wild shit that's out there, you can spend so much time. And I'm sure between the 2-3 of y'all, that's. That's enough. That makes enough entertaining stuff to listen to. So
yeah, right now I'm collecting campaign ads for Iowa candidates to do.
Lord.
I was hoping to do an episode talking about these campaign ads, but it's probably going to have to be 2 because I have so much saved now.
For real. And I know this might. Yeah, I know this might be a Rock Hard Caucus thing, but my God, you have a lot of things to work off of, man. Mm-hmm. Oh my God.
Yeah. Politics in the state of Iowa have been on a sharp decline over the past decade.
To say the least. To say the least, man. Like, even if I'm just watching like a YouTube video on like my wrestling, I like to watch video games.
You get some ads.
You get some ads, yeah. Christina Bohannon is a danger to this country or whatever.
Yeah, and then Christina Bohannon's ad is with the Johnson County Sheriff.
Right.
So like the attack ads are like, she hates the police, and then her own ads are like, actually I love the police. I love them, and it's like, great, yeah, I know everyone's winning here.
Everybody's exactly right. You can clearly see that we're all doing, cute, like, dude, exactly. You're like, all right, I'm gonna crawl back down to my hole and die. Yeah. So I need to start listening to more of that stuff too, dog.
Yeah, if it's if you want it, I can send it to you.
Please do.
We've got lots of that stuff out there. Do you want to play one of your tracks?
Absolutely.
Okay. I think we've played 2 of these before on the show. Which
really?
It's fine. We can do them again, but
shoot. Okay. What name them and I'll and then I can, or rather you can pick one and I can talk about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the one that I don't believe I've heard and played on the show before is Warm Rebirth.
Yeah, actually, I picked this one for a reason. Since we last talked, so the piece I wrote this after one of my parents' family friends' sons had passed away. Mm-hmm. Happened about 10 or so years ago. Unfortunately, he got hit by a car while he was in his residency in I think in the Caribbean somewhere, and unfortunately he passed. And
wow.
Yeah, I knew him, his mom. His mom is one of my mom's best friends, and I wrote the piece. It's his name was Tayo. Tayo's song, I believe, or was Warm Rebirth. Is kind of what I was thinking, just as a way to kind of transmute the negativity to that sadness into something,
right?
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
hopeful. Yeah. Unfortunately, so the past couple months, I have lost a couple of...
I saw one of your classmates passed away like last week or something, right?
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
So that was one of the reasons why I wanted to send this.
Yeah.
He passed. I don't want to speculate as to what happened. I know that he had suffered from sickle cell anemia for all his life. Yeah. And you're in constant pain and you're experiencing like these flare-ups where you need medical attention. And... his only solace was to drive about an hour away from Mount Pleasant to Mercy Hospital in Iowa City just to get treatment.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother story as to why they won't treat him in Mount Pleasant. But, it's, Iowa City was the only place that I guess that I would just say, without saying too much, that was more open-minded to the idea, I guess, as far as like treating him the best possible way, just because of the nature of the disease, because like he's in constant pain, he's going to need something. You can't just send him out the way. So unfortunately last week, he passed. I'm not sure exactly if that was the reason, but I'm sure that was probably part of it. But in a couple weeks, I'm actually going to be one of the pallbearers. I found out a couple days ago. I'm like, shit.
Yeah.
Not shit because I'm doing that, but like, you know what I mean? It's so.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. It's like you wanna be involved in that kind of like ceremony, but it's like, shit, we really have to do this.
We really have to do. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. I know what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm honored, and I'm also like, damn, like, I'm not ready, man. And. My whole family's going to be there, of course. We've known the family ever since we moved down there. One of the few black folks that live in Mount Pleasant. You're going to get to know each other. And, and we didn't know each other well in high school. I mean, we hung out a couple times, but after we graduated, ironically, was when my parents and his parents really got to kind of really bond a lot. Just they were involved in the Rotary Club. They are involved in the Rotary Club together. They do great things there, and they just the similar circles, right? They're involved enough in the community where they do spend a lot of time together, and they hang out like every other week. But so for this to happen, it honestly felt like my parents lost like a family member, and so this one goes out to them, I guess you could say. But that's it starts out, without revealing too much, it starts out kind of somber, and then. This is something I wrote, like I said, like about 8 or so years ago when this happened. So there's a lot of things that with the software that I use that I had no idea what the hell I was working on, but a lot of the chords and stuff like that in the beginning, I just kind of ripped, just kind of like playing around on the controller that I had, and that's kind of really kind of where I started with that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So this is War and Rebirth by Duroje. Subtitle was Tayo song. Was it Tayo?
Yep, that's correct. Yes.
And also dedicated to everyone we have lost.
Yes.
Which is a lot.
Yes.
Because it happens to all of us eventually. We're all going to be lost to someone.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Here it is. So that was Warm Rebirth by Duroje Gwamna, who's sitting across from me right now.
Hey.
Yeah, I could hear in that sort of like a period of like reflection and mourning, and then you sort of like build it up into like the resolve to keep moving forward.
That's exactly kind of what I was thinking too, you know. And honestly, it's I remember writing this when I was coming up with this, and right when my wife and I first started dating, and it's crazy. And you know, we've probably both experienced some of that same stuff too together, and you know, it's kind of crazy kind of listening to that again. You know, there's some stuff that I've written and probably stuff that you've written. I'm like, I'm not listening to this shit for a long ass time. You know what I mean? Just you're like, I was in a different headspace when I wrote this, wasn't sure what I was doing. And that's one of those pieces, right? But I knew then like I had to write something when like that, you know, when my mom and dad told me the news of their family friend that passed or whatever, then I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna write something. You know, it just felt like that was the right time, at least at that moment. And, you know, and it's crazy because I haven't listened to this song fully in years.
Yeah.
Ever, you know what I mean? I'm like, now with, you know, my friend AJ from high school passing away, Makai that passed away last week, you know, I figured that was high time to hear it again. And it's definitely something that I guess I needed to hear just because I wasn't sure. Obviously, with them passing, of course, it gets you, you know, but like, you know, it never fully hit me. You know what I mean? Especially the first time around. So maybe it was kind of a reminder it's okay to kind of draw into that place that you probably don't want to go. You know what I mean? Whether it's listening to music that, you know, was written where you're kind of a tender spot, I guess you could say, or you're trying to do something somewhat altruistic and you're not sure how it's going to be received, but you're just going to do it anyway. You know, and hope that somebody hears it or that can find some warmth or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, it did bring me back to a place, man. Yeah, I used to write music like this where it was just, I used to do this stuff, and I think I didn't cringe as much. So I guess I think that's a good thing. I hope.
Yeah. Well, what do you mean, like cringing at the content of the music, or like why you made the music?
That's a good question. Honestly, both.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not a tender person. You can ask my wife. I'm not. You know what I mean? I'm not. You know, like there are times when I could be pretty eloquent with how I say things, but a lot of times I'm not. I'm clumsy. I say things weird, but I also cringe too. Just obviously, I'm super critical when it comes to hypercritical when it comes to listening to stuff I've written. Everything I write, I'm like, my God, like I could have done this way better. You know, the levels are off. I would have changed. Hell, listen to this. I'm like, yeah, I would have changed some of the timbres on that piano or whatever. But I think mostly on the latter, though, like, not necessarily about the composition piece or whatever, but since I haven't listened to it in a while, I'm like, oh, I guess I haven't written it about. But I guess, yeah, the headspace I was in when I wrote it.
Yeah.
Like the decisions I made with the piece or whatever, and also like that material, I guess, I think is kind of the thing for me. I'm like, oh, goodness, it's tender stuff, you know, and kind of while I was starting to really produce a lot of stuff, you know, at least for myself. And you're kind of like bearing witness again to some of those kind of like old school thought patterns and just kind of going through things. It's kind of like a time capsule, but there is some sort of like, it's not like when you write something cringy on Facebook 8 years ago, you're like, I wrote that crap.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
That's
never look at that.
Never. You're right. Exactly. You know.
Yeah, it's very, I think, common for probably everyone to be like somewhat embarrassed by like how you were a few years ago.
Yeah, dude. Well,
but that's probably good. You know, like there's some personal growth since then.
Yes, I would hope so. You know. And it was like when after we hear your piece, there's one I think we might have played before that talks about our time at West, and it's that that might be for a happier moment in this listening, because it's a pretty damn funny story.
Yeah.
So yeah. When that happens, remind me to tell you why I named it such.
Yeah. I think we talked about it before, but like maybe just like a little bit.
Yes.
Like just sort of, yeah. But yeah, I mean, all that you're talking about with like writing music out of a sense of like grief.
Yeah.
Yeah. I very much know what you mean.
Yeah. Well,
like we're coming up on 2 years since my friend Hannah's suicide.
Yeah.
Which obviously occupied my entire brain for, I mean, it still pretty frequently comes up in my thoughts, of course.
Yeah. And my thoughts go to her, man, and to you as well. You know.
Yeah.
And that's what I was kind of thinking too. I know that you talked about, your losing a friend, especially, a close friend as such, and yeah, dude. I think I think that piece goes out to them, and for, being in that space where you're not sure what to create or what to do. I think I think that's where I was trying to draw from. Yeah, man. So,
and when I brought up those production meeting episodes about the double album that we played a track from, Hannah was in the studio for one of those episodes.
Really?
So yeah, like right when I mentioned those episodes, I was like, oh yeah, she was there.
Oh dude. Oh man.
And then the Unblessed Rest of Us album that I put out last winter, we recorded that like in the months following her death. So like everything that I put into that was like just constantly she was on my mind. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. No. Yeah, that's
I also dedicated that album and the double album we listened to her.
Good.
So yeah, it permeates everything I've done in the past 2 years. Is like
wow,
constantly. Yeah.
That's I bet there's a sense of catharsis and also like a bittersweet feeling once, especially after creating something pretty substantial, right?
Yeah.
I would imagine. I mean, I can't imagine.
I don't,
you know what I mean?
It's
Yeah,
it affects us to lose people.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Maybe that's like an obvious thing to say, but like,
it does. Like it changes. Yeah.
And you want to do something about it. You want it to mean something, I guess.
Yeah, and it's crazy because it's not like I knew like these folks that have passed as well as you and your friend Hannah, right? But it's like with this crap happening, right? You're like you don't want to hold on to this, like this nebulous feeling forever. You want to do something with it. You want to, whether it's talking about it or crowdsourcing, whether it's posting something on Facebook, getting people to react, getting people to. I mean, I talked to like a dozen people I don't normally talk to that I graduated from high school. I mean, that's got to count for something. Things that's got to count for something. I don't talk to these people.
Yeah, I did reconnect with a lot of people, and like, it did make me like, because in my day-to-day life, aside from Ashley, I'm fairly solitary.
Yeah,
like I go to work, I come home, I'm not putting enough effort into like maintaining relationships.
Interpersonal.
Yeah.
Well, like
only. But I think I am doing a better job now because I feel like that's what life is. Yeah. So like you should should try to have a fulfilling life and like and like be something fulfilling for other people's lives.
No, totally. Yeah. Honestly, even this, right? Like I think this is something very communal about it, right? And the fact that it could, even though it's just two of us talking, it does kind of feel like we are. A lot of people are there with us, kind of hearing, potentially.
That's the idea. Yeah, we're talking with the intention of other people hearing.
Exactly. So and kind of reacting with us. So like there is that sense, right? But I know what you mean. It's even like the times when I'm at the office working, I make minimal small talk with some folks or whatever. I might go out to eat with them once a week, but really, I'm just trying to get my bag and go home. And it's between Tunde and Sarah. And the cats, that's our life, right? And my Switch I play at home, when I'm while I'm in bed.
It's one of your best friends.
It's one of my best friends. Yeah, I need to come up with a name for my Switch for sure. Yeah, but no, you're right though. It's like I think as we've gotten older, right? Like we're in our 30s, I guess, right? We're in our 30s.
Oh yeah, I'm 32.
Oh my god, I'm 34.
Old as hell.
You're definitely old as hell. So like I think it does put into focus the fact, not necessarily, we can say that no man is an island. Mm-hmm. I'm not trying to be in an island with a bunch of people in it because I'm going to drive myself crazy and I want to be in an island, but it does kind of bring to focus that sometimes you're going to have to find yourself where you need to connect somehow, just every now and again, right? Just to be sane. But sometimes, as far as my life's concerned, I don't mind. I don't mind having a balance. And I think it's good to have moments where you're like, you know what? I just need to do me for a minute. Like, I don't need to worry about making plans with people for a while. It's just nice I guess I'm kind of like an ambivert in that sense. I get my energy from people.
Ambivert. Is that what you said?
Yeah, I've heard someone.
Like intro and
yeah,
extro.
yes,
Okay.
yes.
Ambivert.
Yeah, sounds like a Pokemon name, ambivert.
Yeah.
No, but you know what I mean. Where it's like I think that's necessary. Because to know where your energy is being collected and where you're able to recharge.
I think ambivert is normal.
Yeah, I think that is. Yeah,
I think most people do have both impulses at different times.
Yeah, well, that's good to know because there are times. There are times, man. It's like I feel like I'm just relying too much on people, and there are times I'm a recluse. Even with my own family, I just leave me alone, and I'm gonna play my Switch and call it a day. But yeah, it do be like that as we get older, trying to figure out what those tolerances should be or where we need to be at, I guess, to be somewhat sane.
Right. Yeah.
No, without getting too meta.
Yeah. There's a spectrum. I think with most of life's needs, there's emotional personality tendencies. There's all of it seems to be sort of like a spectrum. Like
it does.
You're never fully one way or the other. Yeah.
And it does feel like as we go about that, I feel like that spectrum just changes constantly, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we might be in that zone for a hot minute, but something seismic happens or whatever, you're gonna find yourself kind of being on this side of things, and as a reaction or something.
Yeah, you have an inciting incident that leads to a turning point.
Yeah. With me having this child, it's like
that's a big one.
That's right. Yeah. But it's like I was after 1 week of constant visitors, I'm like, you know what? Everyone needs to go to hell home.
Yeah. This kid needs to not he doesn't you don't want him to expect that all the time. Yeah.
Exactly.
Sometimes it's just us.
Sometimes exactly. This is what it should be.
Sometimes it's just gonna be you and me.
But if it's you and Ashley, I'm like, bet y'all can come over whenever, because I feel like we understand each other.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, after that series of philosophical treatises, let's hear some more music. I just released something with my friends Jason Palomara, Brian Pankrat.
Nice.
Me and Jason had the JCJP thing going pretty strong for like a year or two, and it's been more difficult for us to do stuff together since he moved to Indiana, had 5 children.
Oh, geez.
He's a professor. He's real busy. Mm-hmm. So he's far away. So it's hard for us to do stuff together. But back in summer 2019, our friend Brian, we all went to school at Iowa at the same time. Our friend Brian invited Jason and I to join him to record some stuff. And basically the way that Jason and I work is like we'll get together, improvise, record improvisations together, and then we go our separate ways, use that source recording, and spin it off into our own
interpretation.
Pieces. We build stuff out of those improvisations independently.
Nice. Okay.
So collectively improvised, independently produced, composed, whatever afterwards.
Wow. Okay.
So then we did that. We added a person. So we're doing it 3 ways now.
Oh, God.
Okay. Nice. So the idea being that we recorded like hours and hours of stuff.
Mm.
And then we're going to like whittle it down into each of us have like 1 hour.
Okay.
Of a produced, more sculpted like project. So I released an album. Brian's released an album. Jason's not done with his yet. As I mentioned, 5 kids.
5 kids.
He's a professor.
Yeah. That'll do it.
Yeah. So no shame to him. But I'm just saying, like, I released mine. Brian released his just this past week.
Cool.
And the trio project is called BCJ's Peas.
Okay.
So we're just making it more and more unpronounceable as we add people to it. And my version of the project is called You Are a Human Being and You Deserve This.
Nice.
And if you want, we can talk more about it after I play a track.
I'm down.
So I'm going to play the 5th of 6 tracks, and this is called PWAG, which is an acronym, and you may pick up on what it stands for
after
you hear it. So here's PWAG.
Perfect.
Hawk alert: possible person with a gun near the pharmacy building on South Grand Avenue. Stay clear of the area. Person with a gun.
Person with a gun.
Person with a gun. Person with a gun.
Alert: UIPD has located the subject involved in this incident and there is no ongoing threat to campus safety. ce.uiowa.edu for further information.
Wow. Oh my God.
That's PWAG.
That
by BCJ's P's from the album You Are a Human Being and You Deserve This. Produced by me.
Yeah, that's good. Just the I feel like a lot of what you did is kind of self-explanatory, right? You know, it just feels like you can kind of visualize that there's this dude running about, this lunatic, you know, and we get the boys in blue or whatever trying to chase this guy down or what have you. They catch him or whatever, and there's this paranoia in this dude's head or whatever craziness is going on, you know, and you can just kind of feel like just that happening between the two of them, I guess.
Yeah.
It's kind of, you know, and of course they catch him or whatever, or whatever happens, you know, and just,
right. And I don't know. I don't know what happened because, like, that was a real voicemail that I had, but the beginning and end of that,
right? I had a feeling that
I don't know, like they just give us these like hawk alerts, and it's like, you know, and then it's just like situation resolved, and it's like, okay, what happened?
What happened? Right? Like you're just kind of left.
Person had a gun.
Right, person PHAG, PHAG. Right, and you're like, okay, so is the person like, is he on to the next, you know, into the next county? Like, is he dead? Like, what? Right. So that does kind of leave you wondering. Damn.
Yeah.
No, I definitely like I really like that final boss drum thing, that drum loop that you had going on there, and of course you wailing on the sax. The masters of those textures, man, like that. I thought that was really well put together. I think.
Thanks. I think that's my favorite one off of that collection. Like, I really liked finishing that.
It's like, well, it's got to like what was like two and a half.
It's like 2.5 minutes. Yeah.
And it's like, you said it all right there. You know what I mean? And it just like it's like Smash Mouth, but it's like it doesn't leave you get not Smash Mouth like All Star, but like Smash Mouth in your face, and it's like it doesn't leave you guessing, right? Mm-hmm. It's all there, you know, and you have that idea of what you're trying to do, and it's I really liked it.
Yeah, I think I often like a lot of stuff that I make goes the opposite, where it's just like forever. Like, here's a 15 minutes of just like meandering, but this one is just like done.
Boom, exactly. Which was kind of nice because like hearing. Especially, I feel like, because I definitely like, you know, whenever you do the stuff where you go for a minute, right? And you're just kind of filling some space here and there, you know, just throwing in some textures and just whatever. But I feel like we kind of got the best of both worlds at first, and then just wham bam, and
it kind of nice. Switches halfway when the drums kick in.
And I wasn't even expecting it. I'm like, this is dope.
That's great.
Yeah.
I wanted to be a surprise and just suddenly like punch you in the gut.
It was a gut punch. I'm like, oh shit. Yeah. So I honestly, what I've been hearing, I'm like, that's already up there for one of my favorite things I've listened to so far.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Look, on God. So yeah, I mean, what was your thought, I guess, when you're putting that together as far as like the motif of the person with a gun? Like,
yeah. So, like I said, we've got hours of the three of us improvising and recording a bunch of stuff in this like practice space in Chicago. Mm-hmm. And this was summer 2019. So it was after I quit my office job, and I was like, like doing all these other like odd jobs and stuff. And like, I was doing a lot of like volunteer work for like Bernie Sanders, and so a few months later, when we were like buckling down, like, all right, we want to start like getting this project like in motion.
Yeah.
So right before the pandemic started.
Oh yeah.
Is when we were like,
when we were
like, okay, let's get this going.
Yeah.
And so I was like reflecting on like the moment that I was in for those few months. Like, what was my life over those few months? So I was like, oh, I've got all these like saved voicemails. I can like incorporate that, and like I listened to the full recordings and like picked out moments that I felt I could use in the music to like elevate and like sort of produce a little bit.
Yeah.
And I thought that the Hawk Alert person with a gun was like, that's very evocative. I can
exactly.
I can riff off of that easily.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the rest just kind of, I feel like kind of just was put to place based off that impetus. Well, person with a gun. All right.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I think that one was really easy to finish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. It's just like, Justin, it really, as soon as you hear it, you're like, oh, okay. I see where we're going.
Yeah.
And it's up to you to figure out, okay, well, let's see where we go with this, and boom.
Yeah. And I had like an isolated recording of Jason playing the guitar, like the tremolo.
That was him. Then Jason.
I can use that. That's like a really good riff.
And so it was obviously you playing saxophone, and then like the person with the gun. That's your piece. Was there anybody else within the collective? The third person, was he? Did he find his way? Did he find his way in the recording? In that?
Yeah, in this one. So at the beginning, Jason's playing the guitar, and I'm doing like squealy baritone sax stuff.
Oh, Barry sax stuff too. Damn.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then once the drums kick in, it switches to another part of our improvisation where it's like more chaotic, and I ran it through like I used Ableton for most of this.
Okay.
I ran it through like an amp simulator that was like broken and distorted and crazy. Nice. And at that point, I think it's me on Barry, Jason's on violin now, and then Brian's playing the guitar for that.
Oh,
that
nice.
Yeah. So I don't think Brian's in the first half that I can remember, but he's in the second half.
That's what's up. And also, I was going to ask you too. As I say, now you can probably incorporate some trombone now, right?
Oh yeah,
yeah. It's like
I did record something with Chris Emery over the summer.
He plays trombone, right?
He does. Yeah,
That's what's up.
So we did a trombone duet with like a bunch of reverb drenching it.
Nice.
I don't have that with me right now.
Oh man. Well, you should definitely send that to me. I'm definitely curious.
Yeah, I want to start working on that maybe this week so I can. Yeah, I'll send you a clip.
Yeah, I think too. Like what I really want to do is kind of definitely do like more electroacoustic stuff with, now that I know like I could play whatever the hell I want and not feel confined to whatever. It's the idea of putting stuff through effects and things like that.
Oh yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, I didn't realize how much fun it was, I just get lost in the paralysis of how to put that into notation. Sure. The whole tape or the electronic piece of part of it, because I want to have everything all written out. I'm so like,
do you? Okay.
I'm so perfectionist, but like I'm not going to be like have the knob halfway here, have these settings here, blah blah blah. But
well, if you
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, if it's something that you want to be able to do again. I mean, there's nothing wrong with writing down all your settings and stuff. Yeah,
that's true. Or maybe
you can also save the
preset.
Presets. Yeah,
or maybe like a screenshot, right? And be like, maybe take. I think what I might need to do is I might just if I'm ever messing around with some stuff, I'll just send it to you and be like, hey, what do you think?
Mm-hmm.
How would you, if to make this reproducible, what can be done?
Yeah,
because like I'm trying to work on my, like I find myself, I'm a decent enough engraver. I know like kind of how things should look like or whatever. But when it comes to like the fine-tuned details for the performer, like I'm terrible. I'm pretty bad at it. So I need to work on
it helps to just have another set of eyes. Like,
you
know, because you know what the idea is.
Yeah.
So if you have another person look at it, are you transmitting the idea or not?
Yeah, exactly. That's really exactly. Well, I think the baby exercise, that's perfect because it's real simple, but it's like, you know how do we perform it, right? Like that's really all the performer needs to know. Like, what am I doing with this child? And now that my child's been fed, now that I know that he's not in a pissy mood or whatever, and he wants to play this thing, how do we go about it? So, yeah.
Yeah.
But
I've been very outside of the world of like notating and having other people have to follow my instructions.
Yeah.
I'm not against it, but it's been outside of my experience for a while.
for sure.
Yeah. Do you want to play another one of yours, maybe?
Yes.
Okay.
We're gonna, on the happier note, right? This piece called "Don't Poke the Dragon." So I think we talked about it, but the story's hilarious. But so we used to work at the same office job together. I don't harbor as much resentment as I used to, but once you have a child that tends some of those lessons or whatever, you tend to let some of that stuff go. But we used to work at the same place together, me and Justin, and a particular manager I had, like, we just never got along. It's just one of those adversarial relationships where I didn't take him seriously, and he didn't like me for whatever reason, just because I was in my mid-20s. I was goofing around a lot. I was there to make friends. And the pay was not great, but, I got commission on whatever I sold. So that was cool. But we were just kind of in this whole, it was a weird spot, right? And like, I got to the point where with my manager at the time, like he was definitely on my case a lot. And like, he used to have all these funny sayings, right? Like whenever I got him so peeved, he would just say, "Don't poke the dragon." He was just like, "You're poking the dragon,"
Yeah.
And then you probably know who I'm talking about. And then like there's one time I think I was wearing something stupid or whatever, and he's like, "You can't be doing that," or whatever, things like that. So like one day I'm like, you know what? To hell with this job. To hell with him. I just got in the studio and I just I got into my laptop. That was my studio. not my studio.
Any room can be your studio.
Any room can be right. So this is when I was goofing around in this job. We were drinking like every other weekend. Like it was bad for our bodies.
Every other weekend doesn't seem that crazy.
No, that was probably even more than that. But we were definitely it was such a social climate, except my boss. My assistant manager was not there to hang out with us, so we all talked about him. So
he was the dragon.
He was the dragon, exactly. So this song's kind of a collection of some of the things that he's told me, whether it's like, you can't be doing that. Don't poke the dragon. There's a phrase where he says, "Just go." It sounds like it doesn't sound like someone saying "just go." It sounds like "just go." But whenever times like if I'm pissing them off too much, he's like just go. And then and then there's another thing where I was playing something I think it was like some Brad Meldau or something or whatever, like on the loudspeaker, and he's like, just turn it off. I'd rather listen to silence.
Oh, wow.
This is like it was on the sales floor of this job, and we had like a known adversarial sort of thing. Like we got along sometimes. A lot of times I was skating on thin ice until I got fired. And
I was gonna say, this ends with Duroje being fired. So.
Exactly. And it is what it is. And you know what? I don't hold the place into so much contempt as I used to. But boy, when I wrote this song, it was super fun, and just getting everybody like, "Yo, this is what I did when I was at home working at this place."
Yeah, so you shared this with the other people. Yeah.
I didn't share it with him, but
of course,
because I'm not friends with with him, so he probably would not find it funny. But yeah, it's a joy to listen to. We actually have that as a ring. I had that, so I have a ring alert. So whenever people
like
come,
a doorbell
thing.
Yeah.
So I get this jingle on my phone or whatever, and I set it to that song. So yeah, whenever somebody comes by, you'll hear this song.
Yeah. All right. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. So this is "Don't Poke the Dragon," which Duroje wrote several years ago.
Yes.
Don't poke the dragon. Don't poke the dragon. Don't poke the dragon. Don't poke the dragon. Let's go. Don't poke the dragon. Let's go. Don't poke the dragon. Don't poke the dragon. Let's go. Don't poke the dragon.
You can't be doing that. 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 You can't be doing that.
I'd rather listen to silence. Let's go. 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 I'd rather listen to silence.
"Don't Poke the Dragon" by Duroje Gwamna.
You just can't do it sometimes. Sometimes you have to.
Yeah. You've got to, of course, end with the "I'd rather listen to silence."
Yeah.
That's got to be the ending.
Yeah. Now that you know said person, right? It makes sense, right? It tracks, right?
Yeah. I'm glad that I didn't have to work closely with the dragon.
Yeah. Yeah, it's working with Smog as he hoarded all the instruments that he got to sell, and we just got to watch him sell them. So, yeah. So,
man, speaking of people that we've lost, my grandfather died recently, and Smog was his high school nickname.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I was going to say, yeah. Sorry about your grandfather, man.
Thank
I was going to
you.
say, yeah. No, Smog. That's a cool nickname. I gotta say. Yeah. Well, that one goes to him.
Yeah, his last name was Smaldridge. That's
Smaldridge.
my mom's family name, and he was a very tall guy. So he was like Smog the Dragon.
Smog the Dragon.
And he was a nerd. So
nice. So that tracks then.
Yeah.
That's awesome. No, that's is everyone doing all right then with kind of moving through everything?
Yeah, you know how it is with older people, and there's a decline that we all go
It's
through.
anticipated,
if we make it to those advanced years. So
yeah.
That's it sucks, but there's kind of a slow sort of preparation for the inevitable.
Yeah, that's the very eloquent way of stating it. With Pirate, he was.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
He would have been.
That was in the past year, right?
It was actually this. I think it was about a couple months ago.
It wasn't that long ago. Yeah.
Yeah, he would have been 50, he would have been 15. I think he died about a couple weeks prior to that. But yeah, it got to the point where the last day and a half he just didn't eat. He didn't eat anything.
Oh, right. We saw him last time we were at your place, which was not long ago.
Yeah, and I kind of told you it's going to come. So,
I think it was just a few days before.
Yes, it was. Yeah. So thank y'all for being there. Yeah.
It was nice to see him one last time.
Yeah, he was he was definitely he was a dog's dog, man. He just did whatever the hell he wanted,
Yeah, Sarah's big dogs were just so nice.
They were, yeah. Well, they definitely chilled out as they've gotten older. Mm-hmm. I mean, Wicket, he would just bark at anybody and anything, and Pirate, he would just hop around, like a little Pikachu, as he's gotten older, he'll just he didn't hear that good anyway. So he was like, oh yeah, you're here, right? Whatever,
Yeah.
He's like, I'll just occupy this space here. Don't bother me.
Yeah.
So-
I've never been like a huge dog person.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I don't have a problem with them really, but
Yeah.
but I've always connected to cats better.
Yeah.
But those dogs were always like so chill, nice to me.
No, right on. Well, they kind of knew that Pirate, he was kind of like a cat. He was like a dog in the cat in a dog's body. If you think about it, he just was kind of particular too, and he wasn't, Wicket was definitely very a demonstrative kind of a dog, he would just be all up in your face, and just like, you're going to pet me?
Yeah, really big, friendly guy.
Really big friendly. Exactly. He just insists on the pets. Pirate, yeah, he connected with specific people, and for you to be one of them, I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Because like he didn't really, especially for being more of a cat person. I think I think he was able to connect with folks that were ironically cat people because he was kind of like a cat, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've noticed that there's like a surprising kind of like pairing between the tracks that we've been playing. Like,
Yeah.
like the last two, we've got like robot voice.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That is true. Robot voice. The first one, yeah,
There was like a spaciness to both of them.
There was.
Yeah, synth stuff.
Well, I was going to say, the first one with the waning extraterrestrial influence, and even the song about like the folks that had departed, it definitely kind of felt like these open sounds, right?
Mm-hmm.
It seems like, and then the second one were just like short but sweet and pretty.
Yeah. Also the length. I think the first two were 6 minutes, and the second two were like
It was
2.5
minutes. But like they carried like a little.
We didn't plan this.
We did not. No, we didn't. They carried kind of like this. Like you're right. Kind of carried this kind of energy. Like I said, when I wrote the piece, I'm like, it's not like I was necessarily mad, but like I had a little bit more verve than I normally do when I'm writing stuff because it was driven by this idea of like this grumpy old man.
Yeah.
Like this, your manager, like kind of talking at you and just kind of plugging it into a piece. I'm like, this is hilarious. And, when you're like, when you're creating something and you just chuckle, you're like, oh my God, this is good. Like whether it's good or I'm like, oh my God, this is hilarious. Or like you're taking a picture or something, you see something amusing and you just want to ride with it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So it's rare to have moments like that. So I figured I'd run with it.
Oh yeah. It's good to have those like little motivations. It's a lot easier to be creative when you've got like a muse.
Yes. The most unlikely muse, my ex-boss.
All right. Well, maybe we'll each play one more, and then we can end this with like a little bit of live improvisation.
Love it. Sounds good.
All right. So I'm gonna play a track from Brian's part of the BC J's Peas project. This is also a fairly short one. It's called Zebra, and it's a lot more whimsical, I think, than PWAG. It doesn't have the darkness of like a person with a gun and like the worry of like what's going on with this vague message. Zebra is a lot more fun. And we can sort of talk about like how we made it after we hear it.
Oh, perfect.
So here's Zebra. That was Zebra by BCJ's Peas. If you want to hear the rest of that album, it's up on Bandcamp, bcjsps.bandcamp.com, as well as the other version of that album, You Are a Human Being and You Deserve This, that I produced. That is from the Myth Arc, which is the version that Brian Pankrodt produced, with a third version produced by Jason Palomara to come in the future.
Right on.
So yeah, I really like that one.
Yeah, dude. You can tell that everyone was vibing, just like obviously with the laughing and stuff like
right,
that.
You can hear us laughing in the recording.
Like it's impossible not to, just like with like the just such a it's goofy, but it makes it's hilarious. It's good.
Yeah,
it's for me. It's like whenever I like something or whatever, it's hard to come up with the words. Like but that one was I really like the. I do like whimsical is definitely a good word for it, because I'm just thinking about, for some reason, I think about St. Clair Auditorium with a goddamn zebra on stage.
Okay.
Just like the idea, or just the idea of a zebra being on there, and that.
Yeah. I don't actually know why he used zebra as the title. I don't remember if he told me or not.
Yeah, I don't know. If you think about it, though, I guess there's something whimsical about a black and white striped thing.
Sure.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess you can kind of riff on that on that idea. Just and sometimes just a word, like if you listen to a lot of what's it called, Smashing Pumpkins. If you notice, a lot of their songs are just one. They've written a lot of songs where it's just like a random thing. Like one song was called Mayonnaise or Rhinoceros or Hummer.
Might not mean anything.
Yeah. So it could just be like these non sequiturs. Yeah. I did like. They're trying to think of stuff. I really like. I think it might be because of the electric violin, but it reminded me of. Are you familiar with the band Maha Vishnu Orchestra?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. With
not super familiar, but yeah.
Yeah. With John McLaughlin and all those folks. It kind of, I think it might just be because of the timbre of that, but it did kind of I feel like the jauntiness of it kind of remind me of like it, and also the drummer Billy Cobham. He's ridiculous, and it kind of reminded me actually of that group. Yeah. And I guess a little bit of of course of King Crimson.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Though, like that's kind of like what comes up just from stuff I've heard before. I definitely I would say it was kind of neat to listen to that, honestly.
Yeah.
Oh, I really like the deliberate jarriness of it.
Yeah. So Brian was sort of like, he initiated like these recording sessions where we were hanging out. So he was kind of like spearheading everything.
Okay.
And like he came into these with like certain ideas he had for like stuff we could record. Whereas Jason and I were sort of just like, we'll just do
whatever. Yeah.
We'll just come in and we'll toot around.
And we'll see what you get. Yeah.
But, Brian had ideas to go off of. And this was one of his. And his idea was like, one person in the trio is like leading, and they will indicate a number to the other two. So like 6, and then that means we're gonna play 6 distinct notes.
Oh, okay.
And then cues us in at like whatever speed those 6 should come. So like he could do like 6, and then do like a real quick 1, 2, and then you're supposed to do like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that's what resulted. Is like Brian would hold up a number to us and then cue us, and then we sort of like try to be together,
right? Based off of
but it's like a total mess.
But maybe that was like the intentional part, and intentional
it's like what we were talking about with the baby thing, where like you have the input. Like that's predetermined, or like at least like the process of how you're going to produce the sound.
Exactly.
And then the output is like we don't know exactly what's going to happen,
yeah.
but like this is how we're going to start it.
Yeah, it's like you
Yeah.
have like a box and you're telling someone try to throw 6 water balloons inside, or try and hit them in this box and see what happens.
Right,
just
yeah.
throw it at the and
And
maybe
then there's going to be water all over.
it is going to be water. You're right, or like paint splotches, I guess you could say it, at a wall or whatever. Yeah, I do like the input output thing because like I do software engineering now. Which is cool. The past 6-7 months I've done that's been really cool doing that now. But like I'm doing a lot of like I test software, so I have my inputs that I put into a program and figure out what the outputs are going to be. I'm testing what those outputs are. Yeah. So that's kind of thinking about it in such a binary way kind of helps kind of clear things up, at least for me.
Yeah, we coded the input, and then the output was sort of like...
Right. Well, I did like I'm going to say, especially with like... So you got Jason that plays guitar. Does he also play violin too?
He was the violinist on Zebra.
On Zebra.
Yeah.
Of course,
you're
playing...
He had a guitar and a violin at the recording session, as well as I think he had a floor tom with him.
Does Brian play guitar?
Yeah, Brian had like multiple guitars and a whole bunch of pedals.
Oh, nice. We got those. And of course, with your saxophone array, right?
Yeah, I had a couple saxes with me and a keyboard and my laptop.
So I would imagine with the laptop, you probably did did you guys input some like drum stuff too?
We did some drum stuff live, but Zebra was programmed afterwards. And it was like
nice.
Brian trying to like add like a drummer to the mess that we had created.
Oh, okay. Well, which
I think elevated it a lot.
It did. Honestly, it did.
Imagining like a jazz drummer like trying to play with that.
They're like, all right, throw the 6 of these. But like I think that's kind of what makes it whimsical. The idea that if there was like a live, I mean, you can probably find like a drummer that's worth their salt that could probably be able to kind of work up to that, to what y'all are doing in Zebra, but to make it even more ludicrous,
Yeah.
There's a guy, he came up with an album recently. Are you familiar with Mark Guliana?
I don't think so.
I'll send it to. Yeah, he did stuff with Brad Meldau, who I really like. But he kind of actually reminds me of stuff that you would. I feel like if you were put in the studio to produce like a jazz album, I feel like he does some stuff that I feel like you would do. Okay. So yeah, I'll send you his stuff.
Yeah, I really liked near the end where the drums are just doing like this disco beat that just like accelerates.
It accelerates.
Yeah.
Now you probably would see it in the video, but my eyes just like they perked up. I'm like, all right, and then they just sped up again. That was hilarious because like you're expecting like this steady groove, like oh nope, it's speeding up again.
Yeah.
It's speeding up in crazy fast, and then
it's like impossible. Yeah,
it's impossible, and then it's back to like the.
Yeah.
I thought that was great,
and that's like a connection to like PWAG. Because like at the very end of that, there's like the snare drum, like mechanical, machine gun sound. Yeah,
yeah, like oh my god, that's true.
Drums that just like get into impossible territory. I love doing that with programmed drums, like something a human could not reproduce.
It's funny because that's the thing. Like whenever I'm writing stuff, it's like I tend to I think so safely. I don't know if it's a matter of whenever you're like cool, I'm gonna write a chamber piece. With tuba, saxophone, and a couple clarinets or whatever. You're gonna think with those. You're gonna think, at least for me, I think within what the instruments are able to do idiomatically. I'm not gonna have a tuba playing like some crazy saxophone stuff or whatever, or saxophone playing like long tones. But I feel like, unfortunately, it dictates so much of like my expectations when I'm writing that I am trying to influence not only the inputs but the outputs too.
Yeah. Well, that was sort of our training. It's like, this is how you write for people.
Yeah, exactly.
And then like the reality for me has been, it's like I don't do that almost ever anymore.
Well, exactly. I think that's one thing too. It's like you're not just obviously it's nice to have like the practicality side of like whatever it is you're going to do. Like if you're going to be like a world famous, like you're going to be like Robert W. Smith or going to be like this world famous, like arranger, composer, or whatever. You're going to write stuff that people are going to like, a lot of the stuff is kind of like expected inputs or whatever, expected stuff. Now I'm going to say inputs a lot, like, stuff that like, okay, well that's within the feasible range or whatever.
Yeah. I do think it's good to know that.
It's good to know. Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's like, honestly, man, like I spend a lot of my time writing stuff for me. Everything that you've
exactly,
heard.
exactly. Yeah.
Well, I mean, like even with the piece about even the song about like our departed friends and family. That was really mostly for me as it was for the person I was writing.
Sure,
for.
yeah, it's you expressing
Exactly.
something about that.
Yeah. And it's like I wonder though, and I don't know if it's. I mean, this is a whole different conversation, but I wonder if it's like with our formal training, if it was kind of more on the practical side of things versus like this more kind of like the more like self-gratifying, like
Yeah.
I feel like after a while, like if you're gonna be writing for other people, man, like what's the point,
I do think I do think that like formal compositional training at like universities and colleges is a little old fashioned. At least my experience with it. I'm sure there are schools that lean a lot heavier into the like composer, performer, improviser thing, which is sort of what I became eventually. Yeah.
And honestly, I bet it's probably pretty freeing for you to be able to. That's your niche now, and like you're thriving in it,
I suppose. I mean,
I mean, like
creatively thriving, maybe.
Creative, yeah. That's that. I'm sorry, that's what I meant. Yeah, but I know what you mean. It's like I think you're probably encapsulating both, like at least in your case, undergrad and in your graduate studies too, right?
Yeah.
Are you talking about both of those kind of?
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
I mean, that's sort of like the model that they are basing a lot of those programs off of, is like the idea of like the composer who writes for ensembles and performers, which is a cool thing to do. Is like cool music results from that, but they're training way more people to do that than will be able to like make a career doing it.
Amen to that. Amen to that. Well, that's the thing. It's like, I have that. I still have the orchestration book. I think I read it like once or twice because I needed to figure out like, okay, well, what's feasible, but I never, I mean, orchestration is a good thing to know, but like if there was like a textbook on like compositional methods or whatever, obviously I would try and buy it, but it's like, at a certain point, it kind of feels like it is almost like by rote. Like even when we learning counterpoint, that was great. You know what I mean? Learning how to do it, But after a while, I'm like, dang, it's teaching us how to write melodies for real. You know
how to? Yeah, I mean, well, you gotta remember that like teaching like a counterpoint class is like after the fact.
That's
like
true.
This is music that this group of people in this geographical area made during this period of time. And then like people afterwards were like, well, here's sort of like the rules that governed what they created.
Oh, so like you thinking kind of like looking within like their lenses, right?
Yeah.
As far, okay.
And like the rules and systems were sort of like theorized after the fact.
Yeah.
Like they didn't go into it with that.
That's good to know. Okay. Because like I think now knowing that, like it's good to reread that with that perspective in mind, knowing kind of like how to actually break those rules and stuff like that.
Yeah, and it's sort of like it's through experience that those rules ended up like
being placed. Yeah,
right. Yeah, like the people who wrote the music were just writing it, and that was their everyday.
And that was it, right?
Yeah. So like they sort of figured out what would work with what they had, and then. Like that's where the rules came from, is the practicality and the everyday working composer lifestyle,
right? When that was actually like a job, right? That's a good point.
Like Bach wasn't thinking like, well, this has to resolve this way or whatever. It was like, he just plays and it's like, yeah, that's what sounds good.
It's kind of crazy to think about it. Like these dudes were lucky enough that people would be scrutinizing what they're doing and taking that as
in terms of a system of rules.
In terms of a system of rules, like can you imagine like the Justin Comerian way of like doing what you know what I mean of like of improvisation could be a thing, like if
I guess
I mean right, but it's crazy kind of thing.
I'm sure I have tendencies, and then like someone after the fact could like analyze whatever I'm producing, and then like, this is how we did it. 1, 2, 3. These are the steps.
Yeah.
And it's not what I thought.
It's what right.
It's just like how, what came about through my experiences and like developing naturally, intuitively.
And that's kind of scary if you think about it, because like especially if you think about AI
or computers.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my God, right. Because like they could like if they take our bodies of work, they could probably somebody that programmed an AI, given it enough data, could be able to produce something somewhat similar to what we've done.
Since we've talked about Jason Palomaro a little bit today, he has been very interested in that, like the potential, I guess, of AI to like create music, and he's worked in that sort of field with other like scientists and stuff.
Oh boy,
yeah.
I would be interested in learning more about that stuff.
Yeah. What I've gathered from him is that like so far AI composition is pretty unsatisfying. Like there's a missing spark to it.
There's definitely the human element, like, right?
I guess.
Or what do you want to call it?
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm saying. But like, I guess whatever is. Do we have souls or something?
Right, do we have souls? But I know what you mean. Like I remember one quick story. Like I think when he had a professor, I think it was when Dangerfield had somebody that created computer music. This is back in 2007. I think when it was exclusively called computer music. You know what I mean, right? Without much, and like it was just a matter of the composer. Just I think writing a program
like an algorithm,
exactly, and it was remarkable what it did. But when you heard it, you're like, you're trying to grasp onto something, But it was
is the output satisfying?
Right? Yeah. It doesn't like honestly. You could have your cat dance on the piano, and that could be satisfying.
People have done it.
Right. You know what I mean? Whether intentionally or not.
Yeah.
Or back to like my son playing the piano or anybody's kiddo playing the piano.
Yeah.
But like I think the fact that even though that something came out of a computer that resembles music doesn't mean that it's like maybe like you're right, satisfying is the word. Like, is it listenable? Or not even listenable, but it's like, does it really like capture the essence, I guess?
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. So it was interesting that they played the stuff, but like it was weird, man. I'm like, what were we supposed to get out of it?
You didn't, it didn't grab you.
No. It just like it literally felt like it was like 12 tone, but like it was just literally all over the place. There's no like no spots for no rests even, it seems like.
Well, it doesn't need to rest. It's a computer.
It's a computer. Exactly. It doesn't need to put any slide on the trombone or whatever. Yeah. So
yeah, we could keep talking about that.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we got time. I mean, we don't. Yeah. Sorry.
We do have time, but I don't know if we want to spend so much time talking about that. We could instead listen to another track from you.
Cool.
We have As We Transcend. That's the last one on here. You want to listen to that?
Yeah, let's do it. Yes, sir. Okay.
Do you have any preface to this, or should I just hit play?
Actually, I'll throw in some preface.
Yeah.
Preface. Preface. This is kind of like, I think when I wrote this would have been around the time when I was on the tail. I was past the hump of where we used to work, and I now that was around that time, I started writing like crazy. I was just starting putting stuff into Reason, the music program that I use, and whatever came out, right? And that was around that time where I'm like, you know what, to hell with it. That was around the time when I wrote Don't Put the Dragon.
Yeah.
And it was around that time. It was just simple stuff. I didn't necessarily occupy my time thinking about all the inputs or whatever. I'm just like, started with 3 chords and three simple ingredients or whatever, and see what we can come up with. But really, the idea is nothing. The preface is not anything necessarily anything to write home about, but I was definitely in this place where I was tired of like trying to contrive of things. I just wanted to write for myself again, and I missed those times a lot. But that's I guess you could say I transcending one old rigid thought process into something more freeing, not for other people, but for myself for once.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of where I think might be where I would place my mindset when I wrote that.
Yeah. I found it very hard to get into that kind of pattern of like just constant creation.
Yeah.
But that tends to be like the best in terms of like developing your craft or whatever. Is like if you can get into the habit of like just making something every day or whatever regularly, like treating it like you would practice an instrument or something.
Exactly. It's
really hard to keep up the motivation and,
I don't do it.
and set aside the time for it, but those do tend to be really like productive periods of your life.
And like when it
you
happens,
get into it, yeah.
And when it happens, you're like, yeah, I better hold on to this until because who knows when it's going to happen again.
Yeah, ride the wave. I think you said that earlier about something.
Yes.
So ride the wave.
Ride the wave. That's
Yeah.
a secondary title.
Yeah. All right. So as we transcend, here it is. I like how abruptly that cuts off.
Yeah. That tends to be stuff I do. I need to find better ways to cut off things.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a way to end.
Right on.
Nothing wrong with it. Yeah, I like the like distortion in that piano sample too.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I love I think that was kind of comes with my preoccupation of ever since learning how to use things like Reason or Ableton or whatever, being able to morph sounds into something else electronically, you know, that's kind of where I kind of really started to kind of go off of that kind of stuff because I never really I didn't play guitar or any of those instruments where I could put in all sorts of different
where effects are like, you know, part of the game. Yeah,
exactly. Effects are like my new like candy store. You know what I mean? Like I want to have all of them. So no, I'm glad that I like the idea of like the piano kind of being kind of prominent, you know, featured prominently in some of the things that I write, you know, and kind of throwing in like effects and stuff to kind of mute it somehow.
Yeah. I like how like when it starts that track, it's just the piano and it's like distorted and like kind of degraded.
Yeah, yeah.
And like the track starts and you're like, oh, is this just like a bad recording or something?
Right, exactly. Yeah, yeah.
The other instruments come in and they're like a little more clean and it's like, oh, okay, I guess it was.
Yeah, that's kind of
a choice.
Yeah,
yeah.
I never thought of it that way. That's that's funny you say that because it's if I'm whenever I'm adding instruments electronically or whatever, I'm trying to put it through something just so that it's off white or off center somehow deliberately. I guess I never thought about it that way. Yeah.
You don't want to just be like a MIDI piano. Yeah.
Oh, God, no.
Well, that just sustains forever, I guess. All right.
All right. Okay.
Well, you can hear that, right?
Yes, I can.
Okay, cool. So I showed the viewers this Omnichord earlier, and that's my instrument of choice today is the Suzuki Omnichord. I have the model number. I think it's this is like a kind of a cheaper one. There are like more fancy, expensive Omnichords. This is the OM27. And if you're listening closely, you can hear it sort of droning under us talking right now. It's just constantly outputting a little bit of sound. And I could put a noise gate on it maybe to cut that out, but I guess it's fine.
There we go. We'll make it work.
Yeah. So I think to end today's program, Duroje and I are going to improvise a little bit live here in my living room. Duroje brought a trombone.
It's a weapon of choice.
Yeah.
A weapon of choice, I should say.
Can you give me a little trombone and I can just try to set your level here? I'm going to turn that. All right. Should be a little better there. Oh, it kind of fell. That sounds all right. I think that's coming through.
Perfect.
And I've got this effects pedal too, but it's going to be kind of hard to use because it's way over here to my left. But
all right.
Let me just unmute it, and I think I can send my voice to it. Okay. Oh, and there's a delay that I guess I can enable like that.
Oh yeah.
All right. So, do you want to maybe we could start like kind of conventionally? Like I could play a chord progression for you if you want.
Go for it. Yeah.
All right.
No.
So I don't have the ability to play. Let's see. I cannot play any D flat chords
Okay.
or G flat chords on this, or A flat. It's kind of limited in terms of the chords right there.
What kind of? Okay, so you got E flat, D flat. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, so that's cool. So it'll be on the left. Okay. Perfect. We're good. We're good.
Okay, I'll start. Let's see. I'm gonna mute my voice for now.
Sounds good.